Like God always giveth unto the world that which man must know, tells him that there is a power in the world greater than any power that man can have. And when the power of God is shown to the world, God shows every man that he cries out to an unknown God. These things God has shown to man repeatedly, and man did not heed what God showed man. And God knew that in every way that man went in a hardened heart, he was never able to know the ways of God that are given in a contrite heart. In giving unto you the things that we have given to you, we have shown you that no man knows that he is already being judged. And none in this world knows that everything that is being seen represents the way in which the judgment of God in this final stage of man's stay on earth has not only begun, but it is getting worse and worse. God told man that God would send forth plagues and pestilences onto this earth, and wherever it shall go, it will ravish the earth and many that are on the earth. And God knew that everywhere God spoke, man did not believe that God would do the things God said God would do. For all men wanted a God that would allow them to do what they wanted to do, and always to say to God, bless what I am about to do. And God saw the hideous ways of men that came forth from the evil of men. And God, all men testified that they have done it in the name of God. And so God knew that man really didn't understand the ways of your God. For every way that God spoke, God told man, whatever you can do, so can God do, and even greater. And so we show man that in every way that he is visited by all the many pestilences in the world today, he doesn't know what he is witnessing. For all men said there's a strain of this and there's a strain of that, and God told man, you didn't hear what God told you. There shall be many plagues and many pestilences that shall come to you. And every way that God spoke, God knew that man did not listen. For man went busy playing God in the world, believing he knew what he saw, believing he could do what he wanted to do. And he didn't know that in all the ways that God is all that there is, that it is God's might that is being unleashed upon this earth. Unto you we have given, that in all the ways that we have spoken, we have said unto the children of God, that in every way God increases the suffering that is coming to this earth. God giveth grace to the children of God, that all that which is sent in the plagues and pestilences may not come near the children of God. They must have faith, and they must believe that the God that created heaven and earth is the God that is mighty to save them. Man cannot save them from what comes. No man can save any man from God's final judgment. In every way that the children are lost, they still did not understand what God showed them. Nothing that man does and can do would ever rescue anyone from the final phase of man's journey on this earth. God told everyone that it will come to an end. And God shows them that in every way God turns this world upside down and the lives of men inside out. Man still did not understand what God is showing him. In all parts of this earth there is turmoil. In every part there is turmoil. Men flee from one place to the next. Man rise up against man in his own land. And everywhere in the world God shows man everything that man prided himself on is falling apart. And men will fall apart. For in every way that we show man that he is nothing but an idiot on a stage, he still did not understand what God showed him. You cannot rule in any part of God's house. You cannot rule anything that comes from God. And there are many who went believing that man has a power greater than God to be able to protect him from what God would send to him. And God sends everything in the wind. No man sees the wind, so no man knows what comes in the wind. And in every way God sends it in the wind, God shows man he's always helpless to what he cannot see. We have said to you that in all the ways the many rulers of this world will go, God will show man that he is nothing but an idiot on a stage. For when they can't remember what to say, when they cannot pronounce what is given to be pronounced, when they cannot speak when their mouths are open, when they cannot stand still because they swagger like drunk men, when their legs become like jelly and they crumble to the ground, when they cannot walk but crawl on their bellies, when they end up laughing as if they were in a joke, it is the way God shows every man in this world who is the biggest joker. Because man knows not everything he says in every utterance that is given to him. It is God's utterance that comes forth from the mouth of man. And when man knows not how it is that his mouth prophesied the things that he says, he has no way of knowing what God wanted man to know. These things we say to you, and you say to the children, that in every way their faith must be well founded in your Father and Mother God. They must know that it is God's world and that God is in charge of all the world. It matters not what any man may propose, for God told everyone that in judging this world, God would dispose of every proposal or plans of men. And that is what God is doing today. God is disposing of all the proposals and plans of men. For God shows every man in this world that because he did not create himself, he has no power over God. And when man has no power over God, he can never overrule the decision of God. Our children are lost because they did not heed the way that God had given to them, and they did not listen to what God had told them. For in all the ways that they came as gods and rulers and lost what was given to them, God showed them that it was their own disobedience. For we always say to you, whatever you say to anyone, it is what we give from us to you and from you to them. And they have ears, but still do not hear. And there are many that God has given unto you to say the many things too. That in all the ways you say to them, this is the message from your mother and father, creator gods, to you. And they hear, and they still do not hear. And God had given them to always say, when your ear is hard, you just feel. And the children came up knowing this way. Hard-eared children generally feel. God said, you speak to them the same way that we had given unto them to speak to each other. When you not hear, you feel. And when you feel, you cry out. And God is telling, look, it's too late. It's too late. Because God always told man that God is the giver of everything. It doesn't matter who God gave it from. It is God that gave it. And many are they that walk this world, heeding not the things that we have given unto you, to say to them, that they may know that it is your God that speaks from you. It is your God that speaks to them from you. And so we know the things that are given, we know the things that you have said, and we know the things that will come. And in every way that the children of God must learn to listen, they must also learn to obey. For the Lord thy God spoke, and God said to them, all things will be made possible to you if you know only to trust and obey. And the children knew these things in all the ways they came into this world, in the stages that they grew in this world. All things are possible if you only believe. And to believe, you have to trust and obey. And so God gives to you that in teaching these things, that God giveth the children of God a way to know that God has come, and that God's message to them is the message that you give unto them. Turn away from all these decadent ways of man. Place not your trust in any man, but in God Almighty. And when they would have come to do these things, God would invest them with the spirit that they had come to earth with, that they had lost, that in all the ways they will be fortified in the power of the Spirit. They shall be protected from all harm and danger that comes in the swift and final judgment of God unto mankind. We have said to you that you must say to the children of God, God did not give religion to you. God did not give churches to you. God did not give tabernacles to you. For all these things are the ways God showed them, that they had followed the wayward ways of a wayward world. They walked into a den of thieves and liars and deceivers, and they knew not that in every way that they were in a den, that they were imprisoned in the ignorance of the things that they could not have known. God gave them none of these things. For God knew that in every way that they were given to be like God. They had all that which is in the wisdom and knowledge of God, that is pure, that is divine, that is great, that is almighty. And everywhere in this world, on earth, God saw the children follow these many decadent ways, and always went believing in the many that sold it to them, that sold them into bondage. And the children cannot see what we show them, that in all the ways that they follow these cults on earth, they are always in bondage. For those that lead the cults are never the way that they who follow the cults are. For God said to them, you all have eyes, but you don't see. They live sumptuous lives, and they always live privileged lives. And they always seek to take from you even the little that you have. And you still do not know what God has shown unto you. That you are blinded to the evil that has surrounded you, that controls you, that continues to lead you in a path that is always destructive. We didn't give any of these things to them, and we certainly did not give them to follow the ways of men. For we told them, seek ye God and follow the ways of God. And God says always unto you, tell them, whose ways are you following? Whose ways are you following? For every one of you are deceived in the things that you see not and know not, because you cannot see the way in which the evil exists in the unseen, and how the unseen evil enshrouds you, encircles you, and sends you always in the way of the downtrodden. The children must listen to the things that we say to you that are given to them, for they walk in a world they do not know. And when they cannot see the things that are hidden in the dark, they cannot know what it intended to do to them. And God gave it you always to teach and to preach the things that are given to be said. Let them turn away from all these ways. Because that is why God told them God comes to destroy everything. If God is going to destroy everything, God is saying to you, all that you are doing is an abomination to God, is despicable before God. You're not preaching to God. You're not talking to God. You're not worshiping God. You're worshiping in the den of thieves and liars and deceivers. For none of these things were given to you by God. And God knew that in every way God told you, your church is within you. The temple is within you. The tabernacle is within you. Everything that you see outside of you is within you. Reach for it inside of you. Do not reach for the things outside of you. And so we give you always a way to know the things that are to be known and to say the things that are given to be said. For the time has come. For God told the world that God will separate those that are given, that are elect and selected, from those that will never enter into the kingdom of God. God gave it unto you, that in every way it was written and in every way it was known. God respects no one. God will respect no one. For God knows that the time has come when God's work is being done, and that in every way God has said unto them, say ye the things we say to you. And the children sang, do not pass me by. God, do not pass me by. God says to you, say to them, if you do not wish God to pass you by, then follow that which God has given unto you, that is given from me to you, that you should do. For we send you to teach, to preach, and to show the children the way to their own salvation. We had sent no one before, and we will send no one after. For every way that they could not have known who God would send to lead them out of bondage, they had no way of knowing how it is that God works, and the way in which the mysterious ways of God are hidden from them. They must know that whatever you do, they were able to do, and they will again do. They must know that in all the ways they looked for another, God showed them that they were always wrong in the direction in which they went, in the things that they sought. For in teaching you the way that we are in you, we teach you the way to teach them that God is always within, never without. And because God is hidden within, you cannot see God looking out. And that is the way God told them. Find God first. Seek God first. For in all the ways that they followed the wayward ways of a wayward world, they looked outside of themselves for everything, including their own salvation. You cannot find your salvation outside of you. You will find it inside of you. For that which is inside of you is greater than anything that you see outside of you. And when your God is hidden within you, God is your only salvation. To be the way is to show them the way that we have taught you and we have led you. God lies never outside of you. God lies always within you. And when you would have been led to discover God within you, it is when you start to look within you. And that is the way God told you that you all went the wrong way. Looking outside of yourself, looking towards someone else, always looking somewhere else, never looking within you. For how could you have been God's and not know that when you have God, you don't need anyone nor anything else? How could you have known these things and have forgotten these things? How could you not have known that in saying to you, ye are gods, ye are gods, ye are gods, that you are being told there is something greater and mightier than what you see outside of you that is within you? And so we give you to teach, to preach, to communicate all the messages of God to them. For in all the many places we will send you to teach and to preach, these are always the wisdoms of God that are to be revealed unto the children of God. Let them know God is not the God that all men sought, for they did not look where they were given to look to find God. And he who hears that which is given to him and believe what is given to him shall God send the way to salvation.